It's time for NuWellness TV with Dr. Lee. Join your host, the accomplished Dr. Cherilyn Lee, as she welcomes the leading experts in health and well-being as they explore the advancements in natural health, physical fitness, nutrition, integrative medicine, and self-discovery.
Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, whatever the time frame you're in. Have a blessed day. But listen to the show. Before we start, I want everyone to really get a pen and paper because my guest is going to give you some information and tools that's going to help you through your journey of life. Our topic today is what is a medical intuitive, which is very important. What is a medical intuitive? Self-love and self-worth and self-realization. You know, these things are so important as we go through the healing. I have the one and only renowned Dr. Sarah Larsen. Thank you. You just don't know how honored I am for you to be here today as my guest.
I am so honored to be your guest.
Thank you so much.
There are no words for me fully other than the Hippocratic Oath.
Yes.
And the Hippocratic Oath, besides saying do no harm,
Yes.
that's the thing that most people know about the Hippocratic Oath.
Yes.
But it's to really revere your teachers. Part of that oath is to revere the ones that came before, the pioneers,
Yes.
to revere them and their children.
Exactly.
And so I have such great reverence for you. For you've been doing this work, the medical intuitive work, the healing work, the self-worth, the self-love within the Hollywood industry and in California and with politicians for over 40 years.
Oh, my goodness, you read my bio.
It's amazing. It's
Oh, my
amazing.
goodness.
And I've witnessed you. I've witnessed you get awards. The Lady in Red awards
Oh,
from
my goodness.
from government. I've spoken on your stages, and I'm so honored to be here. And I've witnessed you speak on so many stages.
Well, the same
well.
here, and your workshops that you have weekly, you know, the miracle makers.
Yes.
And I've been there, and it's just phenomenal. And the transformation that happens from people going through your workshops. I want to say everyone should sign up for the workshop with the miracle makers because that's exactly what we need to do to start turning things around in our life. You know, I want, because a lot of people probably watching the show today. And first, I want to give a shout out to Jarvis.
Yes.
Because you are the person that introduced me to Jarvis.
Yes.
And he is so incredible. And as a producer here and with the show and the things he do, you told me he was intuitive.
Yes.
As we are talking about medical intuitives.
Yes.
And he's very intuitive as a producer, but he's also a healer too. So that's why he's able to pick up and put on real time on the screen there as we're talking live here.
Yes.
You know, and it's just a blessing. It is truly a blessing.
It's really a blessing. Jarvis is such a blessing for so many reasons.
Yes.
Besides holding the divine masculine energy,
Yes.
like he finds a way to give to all of us, any guest in the studio.
Yes.
And then the work that he's doing, there's an energy or a heart vibration that he's putting out that helps us just focus on the
Wonderful.
conversation
Yes.
and focus on the next step that we can give our audience.
And see, I'm new because of you and a couple of other people. I'm here at UBN.
I'm so glad.
And you've been at
Yes.
UBN for a long time.
Yes, I've been at UBN for over a year.
Okay.
And I so wanted you to have your show. I've been recommending you and
my
recommending you.
goodness.
And so I'm so glad that you're here at UBN and the work that you're doing in sharing the thought leaders, the information step by step that you put up on your shows is quite brilliant.
Thank you.
I watched the one on thyroid. I watched and you give so many pointers and insights. You and your guest have broken down so many complex conversations, complex medical knowledge into understandable diagrams, pictures, and the
Thank you.
necessity to stay on top of
Thank you
different
so
things.
much.
So,
Yes.
yeah, it's been lovely to watch.
And what you're doing, as you are a physician
Yes.
or an MD. I'm a
Yes.
P.H.D. And I just want to say, what prompted you to go into more the medical, intuitive, and the things you're doing, which is, and people don't understand, that is the true level of healing. You have to
That's-
deal with the love and the self, self-worth and, knowing who you are. You go deeper. And as a physician, nobody does that. They didn't
Yes.
train you this in school. You didn't go through training. So,
It was such a beautiful question and such a beautiful. I thought until I went to med school, everyone had the vision that I had. So growing up, I was able to see in the energy field, much like you look at an aura. And I was never told people see differently until I went to med school.
yes.
And in med school, we learn about color blindness, and certain people can't see certain colors,
exactly.
red and green, most of the time. And it wasn't until medical school did I realize there was something different about me. And much of my work, much of everything I did until that point involved being a healer. But the way that it showed up, I didn't give myself credit for it.
Okay.
I didn't register, oh, it's because you went and spent time with this person. And what a medical intuitive does is a medical intuitive takes a flashlight and flashes it on the mind, body, spirit
Yes.
connection.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's all about the body, and
Yes.
nutrition needs to come in, and stretching, modalities, a feel
grounding, earthing, everything. Yes.
getting out of the electromagnetic field
Most
that might
definitely.
be causing illness.
Mhm.
So that's the body can do something. Then the mind, most of illness is mind related.
Yes.
When we go into stressful thought and we have that repetitive thought over and,
And
over,
over again.
and over again, our body has to deal with it.
Yes.
And the symptoms show up in the body, but the source of it is not the body. The source of it is the mind.
yes.
And so medical intuitive can flash a light. Is it the body? Is it the mind? And then there's
Environmental.
also spirit,
Spirit.
the spirit end of things. And when we talk about spirit, it really is the joy, this faith. Joy and faith together are what make up our spirit.
Yes.
You giving yourself permission to believe in, your belief might be scientific.
Yes.
It might be based back into a biblical or a reference of a high spiritual nature, which is how I tend to see it. And part of that is because I've seen angels. I've had literally pictures of angels. I've been able to
I've
show.
seen those pictures.
Yes.
Yes.
I've been able to demonstrate to others the ability to see angels, to
Yes.
see the spirit world.
yes.
And a medical intuitive, what they do is flash the flashlight on that. And each person that comes in and is asking has to do the work themselves.
They have to do it. That's why I want people to get pen and paper.
Yes.
Because I know Dr. Larsen is going to give you some pointers,
Yes.
some things you could start doing right now. So if you're at work or driving or listening to the show will be archived on YouTube. If you miss it, please share it with everyone. So
And
these
on,
are tools to help you to heal.
Is this on Facebook Live as well?
Yes.
You can go back to Facebook
And rewatch the show again.
rewatch it. And we'd love for you to comment.
Please,
And
please.
I'm going to go back to the show. And if you have questions, especially if you shared it to your own wall, if you shared
Yes.
this video to your own wall, and you post a question, you put in there, I shared to my own wall, and you put a question in there. I'm so happy to
Thank
answer
you.
your questions.
Thank you for putting that.
Yes.
For putting that out there. I really appreciate it.
Since we've met, I've been referring people and wanting people to know your work.
And yours as well.
Yes.
And I have to tell you, when we were on the phone yesterday, Joyce Gerber
Yes.
called me. You know,
Yes.
she's the one that introduced me to you.
Oh, that's so lovely. Hi, Joyce. I hope you're watching.
I hope you're
this.
watching because I was at her store.
Yes.
Actually, I went to go pick up my mail and she watched me in the parking lot, walked up to me and said, "Who are you? I've seen you before." And we just started talking. We became very good friends.
Yes.
And she said, "You sound so much like someone I know. Let me call her and introduce you guys." And that's how we met.
Beautiful.
We met over the phone.
We met over the phone, and then you came to one of the lectures.
I sure did.
And that experience and whenever we
Yes.
could, you would show up to my work or I would show up to your work.
Exactly. And I want you to
it's-
show up tonight.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to you about it yet, but I just want to say that it is so important, you know, like-minded people.
Yes.
And this is what this show is about today, too, because you and I share so many things that are alike.
Yes.
And the love and compassion we have for people. And this is what we have to do in life with people around us. And if you have negative people in your life and people who are just bringing you down and,
Yes.
you know, putting you down, you need to just start weeding those people out and really meditate on like-minded people. But you have to be that person yourself.
Yes.
In order to draw in like-minded people, you have to be that person yourself. And that's one of my prayers.
Yes.
You know, each day is, you know, for me to be the best I could be for everyone, for me to be a giver and be able to receive as well, because that used to be one of my problems. I could not receive. So
it's one of the biggest problems that we have in society.
Yeah.
It's right now. Part of it is...
I don't think it's our president's problem. I shouldn't say that, but
Yes.
receiving.
Our ability to give and receive is truly allowing ourselves to experience grace.
Yes.
There is a Greek mythology of the three graces, and it's a beautiful image of three women in this graced field, dancing, gorgeous goddess outfits on, and one goddess gives to the other goddess, and the giver's job is just to give, and the receiver's job is just to receive. And then there is a third grace that receives from the one that received. And it's all this ball of energy. And she makes sure that the one that originally gave gets amplified energy back.
Yes. And, you know, I used to tell people that I have a audio book.
Yes.
And I have given it to many people. And some people said, "I can't take it."
Yes.
And I said, "Well, I'm not going to let you block my blessing because it's a blessing in giving and it's a blessing in receiving."
Yes.
And we know that, you know, so I don't want you to block mine. If I have something to give you, then you should be able to receive it, because we don't want to block that energy flow.
It
that continuity.
really is such a beautiful gift. And I have a friend right now on the receive a kidney. And he's being offered kidneys, but he has a hard time receiving. And I have a group of friends that have donated kidneys. And they didn't need to. It wasn't someone in their family was ill. They just wanted, they were at that level of giving that they've donated kidneys.
Oh, what
and
a beautiful,
the blessings that have come into their life from giving a kidney is something that I'm so excited, because I'm arranging for my friend to start talking to those that donated kidneys.
Oh, wonderful.
So that there is a full in those three graces. Those three graces make sure that we're all receiving. And I this is where you want a pen and pencil out.
Yes.
There's a level of receiving that's like, let me receive, sort of like we expect to receive from mom and dad. Mom and dad, please give to me. Please give to me. You're my mom and dad. Give to me.
Yes.
And that's like the first level of receiving, from above to a lower, you know, then the second level, so parent to child is the first one.
Yes.
Then the second level of receiving is tit for tat. I did this for you. Now you do that for me.
And
I did this for you.
Yes,
You do that
yes.
for me.
Mhm.
Oh, I was good to you. Now you better be good to me.
Exactly.
That's the tit for tat giving.
Mhm.
Like, and it's also where sometimes you feel like I've earned it. Oh, I did this. I've been a good girl. Please give it to me. And we might be saying that to God. We might be saying that to, I deserve it because of this
Right.
reason or that reason. And then there is the vertical receiving, which is I'm going to give to you the best that I can give. And Source is going to fill me up with the highest level that I can give to you in this moment out of my joy for giving to you.
Yes.
And you do with whatever I give you, whatever you want. And Source, or the third grace, will come in and fill me back up.
Yes.
And so it's never a direct, not the one that received that necessarily gives back to you, but you leave it to Source. You leave it to science.
Yes.
Nature hates a vacuum. Where there's a vacuum, it is going to come back and fill it up. And generally speaking, it fills it up with a higher level of organization or a higher level of giving than when you gave from, that where you emptied from.
You know, I just want to kind of interject on giving.
Yes.
Because a lot of people know my journey is in the book, but when I was in my second coma and God said, I'm going to send you back.
Yes.
You know, Spirit said, I'm sending you back, and I did not want to come back. So I was given another gift of life.
Yes.
And that was more precious than anything, the gift of life.
The gift of life. You've already been given the most precious gift.
The second time around.
Yes.
Yeah, this gift of life.
It's as someone who's had a lot of near-death experiences, and to go in, which you've had, both of us have had, you don't have to have extreme experiences to be someone that gives at the highest level.
Yes.
You just have to build your giving muscle and always give from the overflow of yourself. Never give from the need. When you're giving from the overflow, what winds up happening is you constantly fill yourself up more. So you have to knowing yourself, that self-love, that self-worth. Why are you giving in the moment?
Yes.
And for both of us, probably, my giving started with, oh my God, I've been given the most precious gift to continue life, to have met my Creator, to have understood and see all my life paths, and to be given the choice to come back, to really, really be in that space.
Yeah, in that wonderful space. Yes.
And I've fully realized, and this is a very big point, again, where I was willing to receive from, Source could give to me. So I realized this when I was at the Oscars for the first time. One of my clients went to the Oscars, took me as their guest, and while I'm watching Barbara Streisand and I'm, rubbing shoulders with everyone, I had a moment of remembering that I had experienced this moment before. And I had experienced it in, I'm going to say, God's house.
Yes.
I experienced it in my near-death experience.
Yes.
And in God's house, in that space, in that all conditions love space, I had experienced that same moment from the stage of being a performer or presenter. And in that vision, in God's house, in my near-death and experience, I was an actress that was...
well, you're beautiful enough to be an actress.
Oh, thank you. And I'd been offered that many times. I've been offered that. And there on stage, I was presenting. Then in God's house, in the near-death experience, in that vision, I was in the audience. And I was also a person that was seating the people that were arriving as guests for the Oscars. I had seen it from all three perspectives.
Yes.
And my willingness, self-love, self-worth, determined my willingness to receive, determined where I would wind up. Had I received the grace early in life, many people in college tried to get me on camera and wanted me to go into television. I was actually offered a position in television when I chose to go to med school. I wanted to be of
I can
service.
see that. I can
Yeah,
see
but
that.
it was at LSU. I was put on film many times. I was offered a position, a modeling agency back in the 90s wanted to put me into modeling. And and I just was petrified. I had an eating disorder. I had a learning disorder. I had all of these. I hadn't connected my self-love and my self-worth and all of, and so I wasn't able to receive at the highest level. If I would have had the courage back then to really fully say, I don't need to know the whole answer. I just need to know the next step.
Exactly.
I could be helping more people from the stage of the Oscars, so to speak, from that role, from that position.
Exactly.
But it took me years and years of work to receive at the level that I receive at now.
Right.
And if I could receive as God, source, nature would have me receive, what a wonderful world would be all the way around me. And that goes for each person.
Exactly.
I got terrified because I was petrified of more than just the next step.
And your journey and your story is, we ditto a lot.
Yes.
With the being in that space.
Yes.
And I love that, being in God's house when I was in a coma and seeing the white light and the whole 9 yards. But that was my second coma. The first coma, I went to darkness, to hell.
Yeah.
And we're not going to get into that for this show. But I just want to say, there's so many people watching and can identify with what you're saying. Because going back to that childhood and receiving and giving and knowing where we are, because when we talk about self-love, we got to go back into the child and find out, where did this disconnect happen as far as self-love and self-worth, because that's where my problem was as a child. So when we go back and embrace that little child and start loving that child, we have to start, and so that we can get to where we are now today.
And it's such a beautiful thing, because the inner child, the 1 year old's in there, the 5 years old is in there, the 50, every age is in there. And what's beautiful is the predetermined way in which things happen, the predetermined way in which for no matter what, the earth is going to go around the sun.
Yes, it is.
And the predeterminedness of me being at that Oscars is going to happen no matter what.
Yes.
And I got to experience it before I knew what the Oscars were. At the age that I went through that experience, I didn't know. But my in God's house, my path, my destiny already knew. Just like the sun's going to go around, the earth is going to go around the sun is going to go through the universe.
Yes.
The same thing within me. It's going to go around my central inner child, my central, my own personal journey is going to connect with all the things that I am willing to see and notice about myself that got programmed into me before I had language to understand the programming.
Exactly.
So this is, most of us grew up in families with parents or in environments, orphanages, wherever we grew up. And before we knew we could choose differently, people around us helped make sense of the way that we were supposed to see the world.
Exactly.
There is a beautiful man named Dave Logan that did a beautiful TEDx talk on the 5 tribes, the tribal thinking. And he's at USC, I believe, and he did extensive research with another man on the 5 tribes. The lowest level of thinking for a person that's growing up, that inner child within us, the lowest level of thinking is all life sucks. So as a child, as the most displaced people in the world, think all of life sucks. And they can't even see.
You're saying that, but I have people who will say that.
Yes.
I have a dear friend, and she starts off her conversation sounding like that. And I would tell her, you cannot... Oh, she's not watching.
Yeah.
You cannot do that. But you know what? Since we've been friends, she know that when you call me and you say, well, how are you doing? I start off, and I kind of, got that from my mother.
Yes.
And people say, how are you doing? I'm blessed. Because I remembered I would call my mom. I'm ready to tell her a whole lot of things. And I said, Mom, how are you doing? I'm blessed. Then it sort of dissolved some of the things that was holding me back right then.
Yes.
And I'm like, yes, well, I'm blessed too. So I guess I don't really need to go into all of that. Because, this is just something right now. And it's like that, even though we're having a show and we're talking about our own journeys.
Yes.
But so many people I know that are watching, you have the same similar experiences. And this is why I want you to share the show, text your questions, because I know we can go deeper with you.
Yes.
And I just want to share something here, if you don't mind.
Sure, please.
And it's still comfortable holding your hand. I know people are like, they're still holding hands if they can see that part. But you know what? It's so comfortable.
Yes.
Because of the energy.
It is.
The energy is real. The energy is genuine.
Yes.
And when you have a friend, and we don't see each other all the time, but I know if I call you and want to talk to you about anything, you're there, and vice versa. And I thank you for that, because we'll show up in so many places. But when I was in my training over at Charles Drew Medical School as a physician assistant, and then I'm also an RN and nurse practitioner, and then, not being a physician, my P.H.D. is in holistic. But in training in the, in 70s and 80s, I mean, it was many, many years ago, I didn't know about intuitive medicine until then, because I had, as a student, you go work up a patient, and then you got to go and present the patient. So I worked up this patient. I went back and presented this patient, and they had her admitted to the hospital as having bronchitis. And she was an older person. And I went through the whole history and physical, and I said, no, she has a palpable mass in her breast. And my impression at the time is lung cancer. So when I said that, they all looked up. They weren't really interested, because you're a student,
Yes.
And they said, lung cancer? No. So they went back and checked in it, and they did. So the entire class and the instructor said, no, you could be wrong. I said, she had to have palpable lymph nodes under her armpit. And I said, no, there were no palpable lymph nodes, none.
Yeah.
And I said, look, my mother told me to be very careful when I went into medicine.
Yes.
As a healthcare practitioner. She said, because your hands are so heavy, you could hurt people. And I told them, if I didn't find it, it was not there. And not that I'm going to hurt the patient.
Yes.
So they took the whole class to the hospital and re-examined.
Yes.
This lady, no palpable lymph nodes. I told them there wasn't. But, it was years later that I was in practice, and I had a radio interview. And I did not know anything about medical intuitive. I just been doing things for years. And this gentleman came into the clinic, and he said, you don't know about medical intuitive, because that's what you were doing on the show. You were telling people things before they even asked you a question, because some people kind of said, oh, I that's right. And so I didn't know that. But this gentleman came in, and he told me a lot of things. He said, do you know of Dr. Cherilyn Lee? Spirit?
Yes.
And I said, no, I've never heard of her. The Anatomy of a Spirit.
Yes.
And he said, okay, I saw that your birthday is here coming up. So he went and purchased me the entire CD tapes on that, the Anatomy of the Spirit. I'm like, gee, a lot of this stuff I've been doing for years. I didn't know there was a title.
Yes.
So now they have names attached to medical intuitive, especially in that field. And it helped me out a lot in practice, even now, because that's what I do. But I still do the lab work and functional medicine.
Yes.
And the whole thing. So
it's so beautiful because I don't do the lab work and the functional. I'm
I
not
know.
no longer a licensed physician, and but I am an ordained minister and a reverend.
And we are both.
And I know we both are, which is so beautiful because for me, I want to work in conjunction with you, with others that are bringing that in. And for me, it's very important to have connection and work in a manner that suits me.
Yes.
And the systems that we put into place are beautiful. The medical system is beautiful for certain things.
For certain parts of the medical system.
Certain parts of the medical system are beautiful. So not being in the system makes sure that I can advise you as a friend. I can make sure that you're staying connected with the primary.
Yes.
I can say things and I can use faith.
Yes.
And teach and educate and use energy medicine, which is really, really beautiful, which is Cherilyn Mace, and I love her work, The Anatomy of the Spirit. Yeah. And her work is so beautiful. One of her quotes is, "A liar never heals."
Yeah. Oh, yes.
A liar never heals. And the problem is not that we're lying out there. We're lying to ourselves.
Yes.
And when we're incongruent with our self-worth, with our self-love, when we don't see ourselves as nature intends or God and source intends for us to see ourselves, then our body starts sending us signals. And we begin to age and we begin to have aches and pains and symptoms so that we will be able to fully recognize, and I'm going to say our God-given selves.
Yes.
The one that source, the one that nature would have us see. Whatever we give meaning to things, and your friend that calls up on the phone and says, all of life sucks, the meaning that she's interpreting overrides what nature, what source would want her to experience and see. We can only receive to the level or perceive to the level that we allow ourselves to perceive. Just like it, once there was a label for the work that you were doing, the medical intuitive, there was then an inner connection to your inner child going, there you go, baby. Yes, you were right with the lungs, and you were right with this. Trust yourself more. And you got the validation from the outside, even though you didn't need it. You were doing it anyway.
Exactly.
It was just another way for nature, for source, to help you go even further. You got to stand on those shoulders.
Yes.
He was Cherilyn Mace's work around it to help further what you already knew, more language, more people, more communication, more self-organization.
And there's another person too that I will direct people to, and that's Louise Hay.
I love Louise Hay. I thank God for her every single day.
And then there's one other book, and I know he's going to be able to pull it up. I don't remember the author's name, but it's Feelings, Buried Alive and Never Died.
Ah, very interesting.
Yeah, that book
Feelings.
I have a lot of my patients too. I said, go and get the book and read it.
Yeah.
Feelings, Buried Alive and Never Died.
That's a beautiful title, and
It is.
The energy of feelings is more important than anything else
Yes,
that we're
yes.
experiencing.
That's why I love that book.
And this is the work of Candace Pert is put into a diagram. It's on my on Dr. Sarah Larsen Facebook. It was the one that I posted today. We are energy.
Yes.
We are energy, and our feelings transmit to the world how the world needs to be with us for us to realize more of who we actually are.
Yes.
The more we realize that our body is the vessel through which our spirit gets to experience and co-create exactly what source or nature would want for us to co-create.
Yes.
And our feelings are indicators of what we're making things mean and what we believe. And if we're having a feeling that's not true,
Yes.
because we believed something false, then what winds up happening is a little bit of our energy inside of ourselves diminishes. We get stressed. And that's back to that Carolyn Mace. We're lying to ourselves in some way through and our feelings become indicators.
Be true to yourself is so important.
Yes.
Yes.
And so we're taught to value other people's opinions more than our own.
Oh, yes.
Or to follow a particular norm when there isn't a norm for certain areas in our lives.
You know, I was normally don't watch the news, but I had not the news on this morning when I was getting dressed. It was one of the shows, and they talked about, the cyberspace bullying.
Yes.
Which is really sad what's happening in that arena now.
Yes.
But if a person had more self-love, no one could bully, because I was bullied.
Yeah.
All through most of my junior high school years, I was bullied because I looked pretty strange because I had eczema as a child.
Yeah.
So around my mouth and my neck and my eyes, I looked like a raccoon from a distance.
So beautiful now, and to have healed yourself of that.
Yeah. So it took a long time to heal the internal scars. After I healed externally, it was to heal the internal.
Yes.
That took a long time.
There is a lot of pain connected to being beautiful. What I'm saying right now is you are so beautiful on the outside. And when people reflect that and you can't fully receive it, it creates a cord of pain. The feeling that comes around it is pain. And we have to then address what we might label pain, uncomfort, or we might label it like a shying off. Like if someone says something to you and you're like, I don't know if that's true, or I don't feel that way, or then you shy yourself off, or you
I used to do that. I used to.
You block yourself off because now you're in this space. What bullying created is this artificial guard of self.
Oh my goodness. It was a guard that was so bad that I was the last person to go to school because I didn't want anybody around me.
Yeah.
I was the last person to leave school for the same reason.
Yeah.
I married a person who accepted the scars, because by then it was cleared, because I couldn't accept the scars. So I married into a marriage, and that's why it turned out the way it did. So when it turned out the way it did, yes, I was angry about some things that happened, but I had to go back and reflect on the past and say, you know what? I didn't walk into this as an authentic woman.
Yes.
I did not. Even though I was 18, I did not walk into it because I didn't have enough self-love.
Yes.
And could not accept myself.
Yes.
So I've learned a lot. And
I look back at people that are 18. Have you seen an 18-year-old lately? Know, when you look at an 18-year-old, you're like, please don't marry anyone. You're
not ready.
Please don't get married till you're 30.
Yeah, you're not ready.
Major changes happen in your life at like 25, 26. your brain isn't even fully formed until you're 40. And I'm just saying, as if you're an 18-year-old listening to this, and unless you've got the self-worth and the self-love and your ability to give and receive and be gracious, to be all three of those graces.
Yes.
But you have to be a great giver. You have to be a
Yes.
great receiver. And you have to be a great amplifier and someone who's willing to carry all that's been given to you in a manner that honors it. And unless you can be all of those three graces at 18 or at whatever age, and I believe even the marriages, but those are agreements made before we come here.
Oh, yes.
Especially if you have children in those marriages.
And there's 3 girls, and they're in their 40s.
Yes.
Well, 41, 40, 39.
Yes.
Yes.
Which is, it's so beautiful to have that, those gifts come out of that. And they get to be the bridge. Whatever I don't deal with fully in my inner child, in my inner wisdom, in my self-mastery, and knowing myself, my kids carry.
Yes.
They will carry it in some shape or form, not just in the energy world, but because of the languaging, because of how they're going to mirror what I do. And I study extensively the brain and how our nervous system works and how the chakra systems. And so self-worth, self-love is a practice that you have to begin to notice your thoughts and become very good first at receiving compliments and holding on to that. We have a tendency to hold on to the negative like Velcro. Our brain is wired to hold on to the negative experiences to protect us, and it holds on like Velcro. So we've got to take energy to rip the negative energy, thoughts, vibrations off of us. The positive things that happen, the compliments, the things that are appreciating us, growing us, tend to slip off like Teflon or like water on glass. It'll just slip off.
And when it slips off, you have another level that you can feel yourself almost floating.
Right.
Once you start breaking through that, this is why people, if you look at my pictures when I was married, which was 30 some years ago, versus now, I actually standing up next to my ex-husband looked like I could have been his grandmother. I look very, very old.
Yeah.
Look very old. And people are telling me, you look like you're getting younger and younger.
Yes, you are.
That's because I'm still chiseling away through everything. It doesn't all happen at one time. But I'm still chiseling through things. And on a day-to-day basis, you have to keep chiseling through because things happen to us on a day-to-day that we have to let go, forgive, keep moving forward, forgive yourself, forgive others.
Yes.
It's a day-to-day process. It's a moment-to-moment sometime.
Yes.
But we have to do that.
And so
before the show ends, and I know you want to say something there, and then looking at our audience, and I know you have your own show here at UBS, but what would you want the listeners to leave with? Because we only have a couple of minutes left.
So this part of write down the positive so that you make it a habit to notice what you're grateful for, to notice what's giving to you already, to notice the little energy that's expanding you, and stretch yourself a little bit.
Yes.
Ask questions that you've been afraid to ask. Share things that you've been afraid to share. The negative tends to stick to us like Velcro. So the only way to rip off the negative is to take an action that will expand you now a little bit more. So take action and write down and actively make it a practice to remember your own personal positives and the positives that are happening in the world.
Yes. I want to thank you so much, Dr. Sarah Larsen. You are just a gift to the world. This is what I sent out on your as a text on your last show.
Oh,
I just think I am so blessed and honored to know you and all the work you're doing. And I always have a saying when I end the show that I'm going to say, but I want to first of all let people know, be yourself. Don't try to be someone else. Be who God intended for you to be. Be yourself. Whatever you have been blessed with in life when you came to this planet, you have been ordained for greatness. And know within your heart, within your soul, that you have been ordained for greatness. I don't care where you are right now, you are still ordained for greatness. So take that in. Give yourself a wonderful hug. You don't have to be in a relationship. Look in the mirror every day and tell yourself, I love you unconditionally. So at this point in time, I want everyone to repeat after me. I am so grateful
so grateful
that I am
that I am
a magnet
a magnet
for miracles.
for miracles.
And start your day off and watch the miracles happen. Email me and tell me your miracle for the day. Have a wonderful, blessed day.
Thank you so much.
Join us every Wednesday live at 11 a.m. for NuWellness TV with Dr. Lee. Remember, healthy mind, healthy body.